Hello, everybody. If you are thinking of buying a condo, please pay attention because there are some common mistakes that condo buyers make that can cost them tens, in some cases, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
We've seen it happen.
Yeah, it happens and it happens far too often. So, we're going to try to educate you on some of the pitfalls to be aware of when purchasing a condo. I'm Eric Martin.
And I am Emily Austin.
Together, we are the Austin and Martin Broker Team. So condos are tricky, and it's tricky because most people don't understand what it is that they're buying. And you're actually buying three things when you buy a condo. The one thing that most people think of is what?
The unit itself.
Yeah, the actual...
So from the walls in.
The walls in. The how many bedrooms, how many baths, what's the flooring look like? Are the appliances updated? Does it have a view?
Does it have a washer and dryer?
Does it have a washer and dryer?
Parking.
That is one component of what you're buying, but it's only one component. And in many ways, it's the one that is easiest to understand. You can have it inspected. It feels like you're buying an apartment, which most people have lived in at some point in their life.
And
but there's a lot more.
Yeah, sometimes buyers get caught up in what it looks like, and they sort of forget to think about the other two elements of the condo purchase.
So what is the second element?
The second element is how healthy is the building itself.
The building, the physical structure that you're not buying, but you kind of are. You're buying it along with all of the other owners in there. So that's the condition of the siding, the condition of the roof, the condition of the driveway, the windows in many cases, the parking garage, the garage doors. There are elevators, right? Elevators are hundreds of thousands of dollars to replace, and you own a part of that elevator when you buy it. So,
and when you inspect a condo, they don't inspect that. They inspect the walls from the walls in.
Just the unit gets inspected when you do an inspection. So we'll talk about how you can get insight into the physical structure, the building itself, but one of the main ways is to pay attention when you're walking around the building. Take a look. Does it look like the building has been well taken care of, or are there obvious signs that the building has not been well taken care of?
Deferred maintenance happens in condos as well.
Absolutely.
As well as single-family homes.
The last piece that you really want to pay attention to is the health of the Homeowners Association, or what's referred to as the HOA. The HOA is the company, if you will, the governing body that is responsible for taking care of the building.
And those are just volunteer neighbors who are filling in these positions, and they're doing the best they can to represent the decision-making process of the owners, but
they're often woefully under-equipped, for lack of a better word, to manage a multi-building, multi-unit structure.
Correct.
Like a condominium. In Washington State, as a condo buyer, you will receive or should receive what's referred to as a resale certificate and a resale packet. Part of that packet is something called a reserve study, and the reserve study is a very important thing to understand.
Who does the reserve study?
The reserve study are done by companies that are specifically licensed to do the reserve study. They're kind of, if you think of a home inspector, super home inspector combined with an accounting firm. So they look at the life, they look at the condition of all of those elements, the roof, the siding, the driveway, the elevators. They say this should last another 20 years, but in 20 years, it's likely going to cost X amount of dollars to replace it.
So cost projections.
They project out the cost for everything in the building over 30 years. They then compare that to how much the building currently has in their reserves to pay for those things, as well as how much money the condominium is adding to the reserves each year.
In their each unit has HOA dues.
Correct. And what they come up with then is what's referred to as a percent funded. And that percentage can be very high, 100%. We actually saw one recently that was well over 100%. That's very rare. Only 5% of the condos in Washington are 100% funded, to very, very low. We saw one recently as low as 13%. What that number means, the lower the number, the more likely that association is going to run out of money at some point down the road. And when they run out of money, guess who pays?
The unit owners.
The unit owners will get hit with a special assessment. We actually were working with somebody who bought a condo years ago, not from us, bought years ago, and shortly after he bought the condo, he was hit with a special assessment that was more than the price he actually paid for the condo.
How do you think that happened?
It happened because people weren't paying attention and doing the due diligence. It is ultimately the buyer's job to read and understand these documents, but I kid you not, it can be a stack that thick of documents that you get. So it's important that you have communication with your agent about what things are important to you, what's your risk tolerance, and then help finding where those things are within that stack of
Let's
documents.
say you want to buy a condo to rent, and maybe there's a rental cap in the building.
Be good to know.
Mm-hmm.
A good agent can show you where to find and understand the rental caps. We've known people that bought condos that had dogs, only to find out that dogs weren't allowed in the condo.
Yep.
So that's tragic. That's absolutely tragic when that happens.
Speaking of dogs.
Speaking of dogs, we got one hacking up something.
He's got a
behind us
blade of
here.
grass caught in her throat.
There is now help on the way. We've just discovered a firm here in Washington, CIC Consulting, a woman by the name of Rebecca Blaze, that you can actually hire to inspect that stack of documents and help you understand what the risks are.
If you're a seller, it's worth the money. Find out what's missing from that packet before you go on the market.
And if you're a buyer, I think it's absolutely worth it to understand what the risk is to you moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully that's helpful. Reach out if you've got questions about it at all. We'd be happy to have a conversation. We'll put Rebecca's contact info here for you as well. I'm Eric Martin.
And I'm Emily Austin.
Together we are the Austin and Martin Broker Team.
And we love to sell condos.
Let us guide you home.